This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and welcome to Halloween night, Halloween episode. There technically isn't one, but yeah. So this will air on the KTS channel and the reviews channel, because essentially we binge watched after the Harvest Festival. I visited it. Yeah. So what I did is I binge watched the new He-Man, the other one. The Kingdom Hearts one. I saw 2 episodes of it a couple days ago, and now I finally finished it. Binge watched the rest of it, or 3 or 4 episodes. Actually, I watched half of it, and now I watched the other half. It took until now it's 10:14 roughly. It's fine. It has elements of the animation of the Kingdom Hearts game a lot. It has a little bit of reboot in there. It has a little bit of Beast Wars. It has a little bit of the animation of Star Wars Rebels, the Clone Wars, but so does Prodigy. It's very similar in tone to those. It's trying to be Pixar, but it's not Pixar. It's somebody else. It's probably DreamWorks or something. But it's supposed to be Netflix and Mattel, and it is done up in a way that makes it look like the similar to the Shazam series. There's a lot of other things that it's like. He-Man is a multiverse, as some have pointed out on the internet, including the Spectre Creative guy has also pointed out that's a multiverse. It always was. And this is just another version of the multiverse, just like the little girl She-Ra and the Princess of Power thing was. That version, there's another version out there. Apparently they can't put She-Ra in the new He-Man stuff because apparently she's one of the characters that went to Hasbro or something. So Mattel has all the others, but she went elsewhere. I guess they didn't keep the copyright to She-Ra, which is why the other one doesn't follow the continuity as much. It goes in its own direction and it's more like a Pretty Pony type of thing. This one is, this one's also similar. Also, they had, I haven't watched the Princesses of Power. I've watched the original She-Ra and He-Man and She-Ra back in the day. Anyway, so I was familiar with He-Man, the original series. I was 12 or 13 when it started. And I always understood that it was a multiverse even back then. The episodes didn't have any continuity with each other. So the Kevin Smith one came out, trying to do a sort of a soft reboot, make it about Teela. It freaked out all of the internet trolls, mostly, as Kevin Smith accurately said, most of which never saw the original show and just wanted to be vitriol and be annoying and be jerks on the internet. That's basically what it boils down to. They just wanted to go after something because, let's go after it. We don't like this. It makes our penis hurt or something. And it's like, there was nothing wrong with it. The commercial advertising made it look a little disingenuous in that it wasn't so much about He-Man, it was about Teela. But if you watch the second trailer, no, it's actually both. And it's about, because they couldn't use She-Ra. Spectre Creative pointed out. They couldn't use She-Ra because they couldn't get permission to use that character. He-Man's sister, She-Ra, and Hordak and all that. Different part of the universe, Eternia, Preternia, and all that. So they cleverly just sort of retconned into it a little bit and made Teela acting more like a She-Ra type person. She's just standing in for She-Ra, that's all, because they couldn't include She-Ra in the current one. I would think they could get permission from Hasbro. Hasbro would let them if they really went to the trouble. They would let them. Anyway, but they didn't. I saw the trailer for the next season of the Kevin Smith one, and it looks awesome. So he does reappear in the next trailer. And he comes back, and the power of Grayskull's in him and all that. So they're gonna the showdown with him and Skelgod in November, a little bit further away, but a couple of weeks from now. So the Netflix He-Man series remake, they've done another one. They've done two. They've got right. So there isn't much really to say though. So I was kind of filling it in for this Halloween episode. So we have a He-Man show that is basically like a video game. It has some major changes to the characters, and no one really complaining about it. This is odd. It's probably the same people that didn't watch the Kevin Smith one and immediately tried to destroy it. No, this really sucks. We don't like it. Ah, and it's like, so those same people did not watch this other one at all. I think they didn't watch it at all. Even though this one changes the continuity even more. This one has Ram Man as a girl, Ram Mam, which kind of sounds dirty. There's like adult jokes in this thing, and it's supposed to be like a kid's cartoon. It's really dark in parts, and it has themes of abandonment and stuff, and the king's kind of evil at first and misunderstood and stuff, and it's kind of messed up. It's actually a little more messed up than the Kevin Smith one, but in a good way. I would say it's more lively. The character development is more likable. If they were paying attention, some of them might have been. The ones that have wanted to take sort of a middle approach to it have said that the new He-Man, the burly '90s style He-Man, CGI one, does look more in the vein of the. Yeah, it looks more in the vein of the character development is better, the world building is better, the characters are... The guy playing Cringer is reminiscent of a guy from Robotech years ago and totally works. He-Man, Prince Adam, of course, Adam. Kal Kat is Adam. That's hilarious. I even did a Halloween costume where I was Hera, Princess of Power. True story. Yeah, it happened. The He-Man song for this new one is cool. The Power of the Soul song's cool. It's a rock song kind of thing. The sword is ridiculous though. I want the Shadiversity to do the He-Man sword from the newer He-Man. So how ridiculous that sword would look. But yes, we have. Yeah, the He-Man thing. Yeah, because I haven't much to say about it. It was okay. It was fine. It was reasonably placed. The character development was good. The stories were generally good and engaging. It's more of a kid show version of it, so there were camaraderie between He-Man and Crass. And yes, Crass, that's her name. There's the Trapjaw's origins and Beastman's origins being that one guy. Keldor and Skeletor origins being the nephew, a la Hamlet. Same idea, Skeletor and Hamlet. It's very Hamlet-like, very, very Shakespearean. He even references it at one point. So yes, evil uncle tries to take the throne. That's right out of Hamlet. So it's a little bit like The Lion King. And it's like Simba and the Lion King kind of thing going on. Which was also Hamlet, basically. That's why everybody liked it. It was basically Hamlet. So, but with lions. Not the live-action remake. So, yeah, it was, of course, it was not Shakespeare. They were just imitating it. Certainly wasn't. Turns out the king and his armies had all kinds of drones and robots, and they fight them and stuff. They sort of reinvented the Castle Grayskull thing, so Sorceress wasn't there. She was sort of a ghost or after-image of her. Kept reappearing. They made Tila a sorceress, which is consistent with one of the timelines, or one or two of the timelines of the books. Tila was a sorceress. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, like Disney. It's a Kingdom Hearts thing going on. Learns their power. They all learn their powers. They all have the power of Grayskull. That's different. That's not what was in the other one. It's similar to the Princesses of Power thing. Yeah, so the idea of these characters switching gender in the story makes sense. Because they apparently are. That's fine. They do whatever. I'm sure it should be freaking out the alt-right people because they'd be, oh no, you turn Ram Man into a girl. Ah. And Ram Man. Well, they could say the Kal Kat thing. What they could say, well, Crass spelled that way is basically ripping off Starship Location's character in Chimera, Crass, the Klingon girl. It's not. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had nothing to do with Mattel and Kevin Smith's He-Man or the other one. Some vitriol fans thought I did. They're all, oh, that guy just likes Kevin Smith because he's one of the Kevin Smith people. It's like, yeah, if I had been in a Kevin Smith movie, I think I would have mentioned it. Yeah. It's like, no, they totally, he's in on it. He knows, he works for Mattel. It's like, oh, hi. Yeah, if you follow any of my stories post the Mattel era, after I was a little kid, when Transformers started, the Mattel Hot Wheels and Matchbox Hot Wheels, no more. Transformers, Hasbro. It's been Hasbro since 84 or 85. So. But yes, Hasbro, clearly. But sometimes they bought some of Kenner and stuff, so they crossed over, and they bought Tonka, so... No, it's a coincidence. It's a really weird coincidence, but now we have a crossover with Crass and Crass. Crass from Mattel and Crass from Starship Locations, technically CBS Viacom. So that's really strange. Now, if they include a Crass in Lower Decks, that would be hilarious. Because you're like, okay, yeah, it'd be younger Crass. It'd be like very much younger Crass. How about they include her in, well, even if they included her in the weird cyber puberty of He-Man. I don't know where this is going, but yeah, the kids power up and they become adults. Cyber puberty. You'd think they would still be acting like children, which they kind of are in the story. It's kind of strange. Yeah. And yet it's fine. It was I'm rambling on about other things, but hey, this is a sort of a Halloween special / review that / thing, and why not? Why not? The last of the candy that was left over, well, some of it. And that's, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It isn't any better or worse than the other one. Any better or worse than the other one. It's there. It has potential. It's one half of a series, apparently. There's more, like the other one was. Yeah, and... Oh. I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, the toys are selling. Those are that box thing. They have the toys for Revelation right next to the toy He-Man Revelation, that Kevin Smith one, right next to Masters of the Universe. This one with the He-Man, mostly He-Man, is selling. They like the Evil Lyn from both of them too. They're selling. They don't have very many Teelas. They keep getting snatched up. So despite the alleged non-fan backlash, the Teela figure is hard to get, and you can't find it. Everybody else is there. They've made enough of those, but the Teela is hard to find. Man-at-Arms is impossible to find, but they did make him. They just didn't. Yeah. As for the younger group, you can get the younger group. They're all there. I think they have a Target exclusive or something. But yeah, I don't have them. But I should probably get the Crass because it's Crass. Yeah. But yes, the also the it's very with it. It's fine. It doesn't insult intelligence. It's done at a level that. Very reminiscent of 90s cartoons basically, but the animation is similar to video games, and yeah, it's fine. He-Man, Masters of the Universe, the newer one. Yeah, so I got nothing more other than binge watching He-Man. Some parts of Snake Mountain and the castle and the movie Castle. I didn't even get to the plot. The plot of the story was basically just a simple enough 10-episode arc where they get their powers, they learn how to use them, and Prince Adam isn't with, or he's got to meet his dad later on and get his memories back, and then go to meet the dad, and then discover that the uncle had hidden it or kidnapped him basically, and somehow his memories were taken away, and because of this fight in Skull Mountain or whatever, and then Castle Grayskull, and later on he gets to meet his father again, and and save him from a storm, and there's and Skeletor is making Keldor become Skeletor, which is something they didn't show in the cartoon originally. In the Kevin Smith one, he's already Skeletor. The Kevin Smith one is a direct spin-off of the original show. I don't know how they could really do that because the last episode of the show was considerably different than what they did, but they should have just called it a reboot, and then they probably wouldn't have had as many vitriol. It's just that this is a reboot with some of the similar characters. It's not the original show, it's a reboot. If they'd said that, and they probably wouldn't have said anything. And of course, they weren't watching it. The new one does even more changes to it. Orko is apparently a robot in this one. And that's fine. Okay. So really, it's He-Man. I was rambling on about He-Man stuff and things like that from years ago, and it's this doesn't need to be a very long one, so we'll go about 30 minutes and stop. And so it's it's fine. Go watch the Netflix He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That's what it's called. A 2021 series re-release. I didn't really give you any spoilers. Hey, you can go and watch it for Netflix. We're not associated with Netflix. Anyway, so. Okay, yes, this is a Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and you're watching the second half of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the 2021/2022 Kingdom Heartsy sort of version of it, the kiddie version of it. The Kingdom Hearts cross with a little bit of reboot and a little bit of the She-Ra show, a number of other things, and a little bit of Star Wars Rebels. Yeah. Back on Halloween, it reviewed part 1, and then they part of season 1. They listed this as season 2, there was 8 episodes of that, and now there are 8 more of season 2, which aired last March. Apparently, it's in secret, and I didn't even know about it. Nobody knew about it in March. So this is about a month and a half later than it should be to review that. It ends with another cliffhanger, and I don't know if they're making a season 3. So, spoilers. This one was, I rambled on in the Halloween version, so I'm going to post on the review channel just the review of just the first season from the Halloween special, and then this follows, so it'll be all connected. So basically we have Crass, the location character, who is it was included in there just because Ram Man and Rampage, it's revealed there. They're mixing continuities because it's a parallel universe, it's a multiverse. He-Man's always been a multiverse. It's just the comics, there were Marvel comics, and there were other ones, so they were always doing that. There were other comics. So Revelation, He-Man Revelation is its own continuity with that going on. So this one the same thing. The final battle of Skeletor isn't necessarily, it follows similar talking points in it to the other one. He doesn't become a Skeld God in this one, but Keldor is the nephew, the uncle of the king. That's in the comic books, and it's in the 2000X reboots, but it's not in the original G1 cartoon. It's in the comic books. Skeletor went bad and became Skeletor. That's in the comic books. That's according to also Spectre Creative, who worked for the 2000X series. And other people have said it too, and they were surprised. Oh, it was a nephew thing, the Hamlet thing that was mentioned the other. His plan is to do the find Castle Grayskull, which has crashed which has been transported to Avion, the Avion planet. Yet another Kal Kat character. Also another Transformers Mush character, which is interesting. So we have Rampage, Havoc, sort of. We have names that are kind of like Transformers, which is interesting. Havoc, of course, from G.I. Joe. And other things that came later, a little later after He-Man, but only a little. G.I. Joe premiered in '84, so did Transformers. He-Man was '83. So they're copying each other, cross-pollination from Filmation to Sunbow and Marvel and all that. Yeah, it makes sense. They were related. So they were related back then. Marvel and Mattel cross-pollinated, and Kenner and all those other companies went back and forth, which is how they could have a DC line of He-Man type figures in the 2010s. They had a weird DC crossover line with Marvel, which I thought was bizarre. With He-Man, with Kenner and Mattel, all getting cross-pollinate. They must have an interesting copyright thing there. And this one we have the characters written more like a Kingdom Hearts video game type of thing. I'm only somewhat familiar with it. I'm not familiar enough with that game to know, except the designs look similar. The characterizations are similar. The ambiguous, angsty young people with attitude thing is similar to that, and the Ninja Turtles, and Super Sentai Seion and Power Rangers and that type of thing. Similar to that. Masked Rider, Kamen Rider as well, because she has a helmet. So we have, and the Halloween one. Since the Halloween one, there was we found some He-Man figures from the Classics reissue line 2022, and they re-released the bird guy. The bird guy, who was the guy that I was thinking of. He wasn't one of the henchmen. And they released the Sorceress and a bunch of others. Have those. Got the He-Man, Revelation He-Man and Skeletor, and the Evil In, and the He-Man and main characters from the classic line, He-Man and Skeletor, and Battle Cat and two kinds of Battle Cat, one from this one and one from the other one. And Panther, the evil. So we have and we have a Skeletor who sounds a bit more like the Kal Kat character of Bludgeon in this season of. It's not, but more than he sounds like Mark Hamill one from Revelation, which is you don't even have any idea what they're talking about. Because the current Transformers Lexicons fan film that's in production now has a character. Skullface character who sounds very much like this guy. It's not the same guy, just to tell you right now. Because in the Halloween special, I would say stuff like, sounded like I had some connection, and there's none. This guy is not, it just sounds similar. Yeah, it's not the same guy. Crass is not the same person as Crass from Starship Locations and Starship, Locations, and it's just a coincidence. It can't be. I had nothing to do with making either of these. On occasion, would get somebody commenting, especially during the Kevin Smith one. Like, oh, here's a shill for Kevin Smith. And no. Anyway, so the 8 episodes were mainly about the whole, the line, the toys, and they go on different adventures. They go to the avian planet. They meet this very cocky flying guy who has artificial wings. That's the Birdman guy, and I've forgotten his name already. So, but I should know it. Stratos, Stratos. And a scene that's very reminiscent of the 1980s Birdman from the 1980s Flash Gordon. Which He-Man is certainly inspired by Flash Gordon and Conan. It's like they met, Flash Gordon and Conan. Also, the 80s Flash Gordon included a Baroness and a Destro before G.I. Joe. That's where they got that from. Go and watch the original 1980 Flash Gordon, which is a remake of a 1930s serial, Flash Gordon, done in the 80s. And there is a guy in it that sounds like his evil Destro, and he's got like the mask and everything. And there's a Baroness, and she's, I'm the Baroness. That's where they got that from. So G.I. Joe is not very original either. And here we have kind of the same idea. We have the sorceress, which is kind of like that. So it's connected. They're all the 80s cartoon archetypes. Evil, mysterious, sort of Slavic-sounding evil sorceress lady. Sure, why not? They gotta rescue the sorceress. They don't know where she went. The man-at-arms, kid-at-arms has disappeared her, and they have to get her back. There's all kinds of space battles and stuff. The animation is slightly better in season 2 than in season 1. There are some strange mishaps with in terms of like covering up the cloud of mist that goes out. Or looks a little odd, but because there would be CG perfectly, and then there would be this really, really detailed CG, and then they'd switch to these strange sort of overdrawn over cartoon explosions. Pretty odd. Very reminiscent of the What If Marvel. Except in that it was rotoscoped and it looked worse, I think, and it didn't. It was almost unwatchable. Marvel What If. This was better though. It does mess with the canon a lot, but if Crass is intended to be the fifth Ancestinian thing that's from the comics, that's cool that they implied that. But sure. And there's there's some. It's still dark. It's actually the Kevin Smith one may have more of a message and themes in it that are more kiddie-ish, but this one actually is darker and has more like adult jokes thrown in there that are interesting. So, I don't want to drag this on too many minutes because it's just part 2 of season 1. I want to throw it on the tape. You have your the Stratos guy wants to do his own heroes and throw that in there. There are some kiddie gags in it because it is a kiddie story, but it's I'd say meant for young teenagers. So it's not it's not pandering to them. It's fun. The song is fun. It's zippy. The placement of the characters is fun. There's even a marked cards moment with zombies in it, of course. There's a couple of Kal Kat moments in it, actually. But yeah, it was not inspired. Transformers much. Voice characters do sound similar, but I probably, in terms of the later ones, was probably inspired in some of the later stuff by it. So yeah, the later Shared Hallucination episodes, the other ones, and Transformers much. It's not connected. We weren't related to that. The Starship Locations wasn't related to that. It's just a coincidence that the voice talent we have on ours is similar, but not the same. Some people commenting, "Oh, was that actually the thing?" I was like, no, we weren't associated anyway with this. People on the same wavelength. That's all it was. And now they'll think it's an even bigger conspiracy. Now they'll be like, "Oh, you had to say that. You had to disclaimer that they wasn't in that." The other things. He wasn't part of the Kevin Smith one. He's part of the other He-Man. Okay, yeah. Which no one complained about. Yeah, no, I was not involved with either. I haven't been in any Netflix show. I just made a Transformer show that was similar to a Netflix Transformer show. And had vague connections because it was lockdown with some of the people that put the Netflix show together. Not anymore, but yeah. But when they were putting the Netflix show together. That was during the lockdown. They even referenced the lockdown in here. This was in March. I guess since there likely is not going to be a trip to Fanime this year, because we're going to do more reviews this month. At least this month. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there are any guests. I think there's one or two, and it's like, I don't even know who they are. So, unless something amazing happens, unless like the cast of Robotech shows up or something, It's probably not likely. We'll see. But He-Man and the Masters of the Universe remake is on a par with the other stuff. Hopefully they do a Blu-ray release like they're going to do for Revelation and have you'll be able to go out and watch it. Of course, now with Netflix losing its butt over the stocks, it's probably not likely that they will do that. They probably won't do that. Put out DVDs of that. Yeah. Like they didn't do the Stranger Things third season on DVD. They just didn't bother. So yeah. Yeah. So Netflix is having issues. And I had nothing to do with that. It's because, Netflix is located near where Kal Kat is. Yeah, but I have nothing to do with it. I'm not involved in Netflix in any way. Why would I be involved in Netflix anyway? But yeah, I'm always talent. The guy who's playing the bludgeon in this Transformer thing is not the same guy. And the one playing Crass is not the same guy as the one a girl playing Crass in this one. Obviously not. So yeah, overall it's fine. You have your basic build up to a final battle. You have character development with the main bad guys and Skeletor, and Skeletor, funny scene with Skeletor and at arms, kid at arms. You have a funny birthday episode. You have a lot of that was the lockdown one. That was the Kal Kat one. So the birthday episode is kind of the Kal Kat one. It's even though it was and the robots they're going around. It was a Tim one, but we didn't write them. It's just like a Kal Kat one. It's not really. Anyway, so that is Masters of the Universe season. What they call season 2, which came out in March. It is now May, and it's not the end of May. It's the beginning of May. So it's been like almost 7 months, and we had to wait for the second half. So I'm going to put the two together right here, and you're watching it right now. So.